This is Venezuela, the most oil-rich country in the world, and also the world's most dangerous. This is its most dangerous city, the capital, Caracas, and the most dangerous places in Caracas are the barrios, Las Minas, La Vega, Catia, 23 de Enero, and of course Petare, the black hole of the whole of Latin America. Today, we're walking here. Let's go. When I first visited Venezuela a few years back, the first thing I was told was never to film out of the window. You get to the junction or get stuck in traffic and bikers drive up to your car, take out a gun and rob you of anything you have, even your rings. Look at this policeman patrolling the city, gun in his hand. The road here is the most dangerous place of all. This is what you should never do in Caracas. Stop and sit in your car. In a blink of an eye, you'll be surrounded. Guys with guns will drag you out and they'll take your car. This woman slowed down at the turn and immediately got into trouble. Guys spring out of their car and try to force the doors. Good thing she reacted quickly and took off. Well, bummer, they'll try the next one. Most of the barrios are in the mountains, so the roads here are mostly stairways, up and down. The neighborhood here is so dangerous that even Jesus is carrying a rifle. The caption reads, "Viviremos, we'll live." The other one next to the AK-wielding Virgin Mary is "Venceremos, we'll win." The barrios are a relatively recent phenomenon. This was Caracas in the 60s, no slums anywhere not in the city centre nor in the suburbs. In the 80s and 90s, nearby villages started relocating to the sparsely populated mountain slopes, where land was cheap. But everything changed at the turn of the century, when the first socialist president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, started granting the poor land all over the city, even the rich neighbourhoods, including around his own Miraflores palace. This is the residence of the president, the stairs he takes every morning. And here's the funny thing, what kind of view do you think he enjoys from up here? Exactly, it's the barrios and other slums. They're everywhere here. Here's another poor block close by the palace, almost like a small barrio. The poor from the villages started flocking to Caracas en masse, and so the slums grew larger and larger, eventually dominating the cityscape, covering at present as much as 80% of the capital. Guys, this one might be the weirdest barrio in Caracas. It's a 25-story block of flats. There's even a helipad on top. It was never finished, but people still decided to move in. Look, some have tried to set up walls. Unbelievable conditions. Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? It's called the Tower of David, and even had a cameo in the US-produced Homeland TV series. The main hero had to lie low for a while, and while hiding he saw the everyday life of the inhabitants. But most barrios look like this, of course. Different coloured, rambling brick hovels piled up on one another. They're usually built like a Napoleon cake, layer by layer. New hovels built right on top of the old ones. This is what barrio architecture looks like. They first build one story, then they add another one on top of that, some even add a third, and a different family on each floor. There are no conventional numbers or mailboxes here. A conventional digital map is useless. So, guys, look at these analog barrio maps. You've probably never seen anything like this before. To keep tabs on who lives here, the authorities have to make these cardboard barrio mock-ups. We record who lives where, what their family's like, whether they receive help from the revolutionary government, whether it's their place or not, whether they have any troubles, how well they're doing. Here we have all the information on every district, so we, the revolutionaries, always know where we're needed. It's very important. The revolutionaries, by the way, is how the Venezuelan government call themselves. But even they don't stick their necks out in the barrios. The police always speed up here. The barrios are controlled by combat brigades, the so-called Collectivos, biker gangs armed no worse than the army. Many of them cover their faces. Understandably, they don't like cameras much. How the Collectivos make their living is rather obvious. Here we see the members of one of the gangs come for their cut from one of the street vendors, gun in hand. The authorities turn a blind eye, and in return the Collectivos help them keep the barrios under control. Politically too. I don't want to see no one in the street, understand? Tell everyone. I see any protesting here, there will be trouble, understand? Any protesters here are swiftly dealt with. So today we'll be walking through the barrios, guided by one of their more respected, shall we say, inhabitants. Come on in, lad. These notices are now seen in many places. Ladies and gentlemen, water is available only when there is power. So no water during blackouts. If anything does come out of the tap, it's just a small trickle. Because there's no water, there are actual water trucks going around the city. Trucks like these that pump water into houses. But that's just for the rich. Most people get their water from ditches or straight from the drain pipe by the roadside. This is a typical flat here in the barrios. This is where the children live, this is where they play, this is the cooking area. Let's see what's in the fridge. The fridge here is predictably empty. Well, half empty, anyway. The only light in the kitchen is this lamp. And this light is the only one in the whole flat. The chandelier looks like this because light bulbs are impossible to get. I've got some corn grits, rice and pasta here. Lucia Lopez is showing the supplies for the week. There's not much protein in these, true. And now count the children living here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 8th one crying out of frame. The dog barking is the downstairs neighbors, and above this aluminium roof live other people, another family. One curious detail, you'll never see any wardrobes in these flats. The clothes are laid out or hung all around the flat and outside the windows. Boys are sitting outside. They're eating ice cream. Look, it's in plastic bags. It's made with the simplest ingredients. Water poured into a plastic bag with milk powder, cocoa and sugar, and then a couple of hours in the freezer. No one here has the money for a proper ice cream, of course. And the biscuits in the boys' laps are just corn flour with cocoa and sugar, not even baked. But this could well be all they have for lunch. By now you may be thinking that life in the slums is at rock bottom, but it's not. People move to the barrios for a better life, because the villages they were born in look like this. Houses made of hay and clay, no light at all, and bananas for breakfast, lunch and dinner. State price regulation has ruined agriculture. In a country where you can collect 3 harvests a year, there's now a famine. At least in the barrios there is light, although not always. Some sanitation and water, schools for the children, and most importantly, food. Hugo Chavez started handing out food parcels and introduced free lunches. This is the kind of meal every barrio resident in Caracas can get for free. It is, in fact, one of the only ways people survive here. Today there's pasta, some mushy beans, and a slightly suspicious-looking chicken. Still, it's actually not that bad. But today, even these public canteens are slowly running out of food. Valentin Santana's taking us into the Holy of Holies in the barrio, the Collectivo's command center. Look, this is our base of operations. From here we control our whole territory. See the cameras? The whole barrio's covered by these cameras. So you control the whole barrio from here. The whole barrio and beyond. We also monitor the surrounding area. Here they have gas masks, military helmets, and of course, piles of guns. Don't film that, turn it off. Before we arrived, the men had clearly been told to put away their guns, but look, they didn't bother to take off the clip holsters, for example. And now Santana's taking us into his own private premises. Look at the view from his house in the barrio. He has a greenhouse with vegetables, his own pigsty and chicken coop, and even a live crocodile. You may be surprised to learn that the people in the slums almost worship the fighters of the Collectivos. They're not just shooting here, they've taken on all the responsibilities of government. They're also giving people treatment, especially now when there's a pandemic and nobody has money or medicine. We're entering the hospital run by Santana and his men. This is a hospital for the locals. It has everything they need, free of charge. And now one of the men's taking us to a small house. This boy's name is Juan Carlos. Next to him is his aunt. Every barrio has a house like this, and more than just one. It is essentially a guest house with all the amenities. There's a washing machine here, and here's the kitchen. It's currently the home of Juan Carlos. These houses are for people who come to Caracas because in their hometowns, there's no medicine, or no food, or no doctors, so they need to stay in Caracas. Juan came from his village to see a doctor. He'd recently fallen and broken his arm, but that's hardly the worst of it. Juan has brain cancer. Yesterday he saw the doctor. They can't do the operation because they don't have, what's the right word? They don't have a needle. That's right, they don't have a needle to make the post-operation stitches. We don't have time. If they can't do my operation here, we'll have to find this needle ourselves. Yesterday we saw the doctor, and he asked for a needle to do the operation. But then he said he couldn't help me anyway, because after the operation you need to put ice on the stitches, but they don't have it. It was very hot in the hospital. I stayed there at night. No one could sleep because it was too hot. My blanket got sticky. I really don't know how this boy has the strength to tell us all that and then smile again. He only came close to tears once when he talked about his murdered father and his granny waiting for him at home. They're staying in these houses free of charge. The members of the Collectivos help them with food, with transport, with everything they need. So when you next hear that it's dangerous in the barrios, well, think about that. This isn't meant to justify the robberies and murders committed by the Collectivos. It's just that life is more complicated than just black and white. For example, the leader of the Tupamaro collective, Alberto Caracas, was one of the most zealous fighters against the drug mafia in Venezuela, in his own way, of course.
Alguien que vende droga no tiene derecho, ni alguien que distribuye droga, que destruye vida de niños, de ancianos, de jóvenes, no tiene derecho a nada, a la vida. Bam, bam.
Tell us what you think about the Collectivos in the comments below. This is a rich neighborhood of Caracas. Houses here start at $1 million and can go up to 15 million. Fences here used to be much shorter, but now there are not just these huge metal fences, there are also the electric fences above them. This guy built a 6-foot wall, but then the border's clearly visible. He thought a bit and added another 6 feet on top. Construction is in full swing here. Here they're building a house that looks like it's going to cost a few $1 million. This elite construction site in a starving country looks especially striking next to a shabby old taxi someone has left nearby. Whose house is this? Expropriated. Whose shop is it? Expropriated. This is Hugo Chavez solving the country's economic woes. A shop's raising prices, shop expropriated. The flats cost too much, house expropriated. The farmer's not bringing pork to the market, farm expropriated. In the end, everything's been taken. Great job, people cheering. But in the long run, the prices stayed the same. It's just that the country where it's summer year-round is now starving. It's highly inadvisable to go out on the streets of Caracas at night, especially as I'm doing it right now with a phone in my hand. They can snatch it, and that's the best case scenario. They can shoot you and take it off your body. So it's possible that if you're watching this video, it's been edited by my cameraman. Old jeans, t-shirts, slippers. This is the black market in the slums of Caracas. Anything goes here. For example, this guy is selling stolen phones. You can get anything here, from furniture and clothes to guns and drugs. Not a night goes by in the barrios without some sort of shooting. The guys cover their faces, asking that we don't give their names. They're human traffickers. Here's where we keep the kidnapped. These kidnappers are also feeling the crisis. Look what one of them's armed with. Just a simple pipe. You disassemble it like this, then load it with an incendiary rocket or just a firework and then fire. This gun today cost $1,500 and a year ago I got it for $600. Everything's getting more expensive, so we have to ask for bigger ransoms. 2 years ago it was $10,000 for a person, now it's $20,000. At night the barrios come alive. People come back from work, many go to bars, and many play dominoes like this. For a foreigner, it's really quite dangerous here at this time, so don't try it yourself.